Virginia Beach is a big city with a lot of different neighborhoods in it, but anywhere from like the $200,000-$300,000 price range up to the $1 to $3, $5 million price range, and everything in between. So with that comes a lot of nuance in the 400, 500, 600 and up price ranges, to where you'll find that each neighborhood is just different enough to where, depending on what kind of house you're looking for, what kind of size you're looking for, what kind of area you want to be in, and type of lifestyle you want, it can be just different enough to where you might pick the wrong neighborhood. And so what I've done is, in this video, ranked each area in Virginia Beach from D up to A, and actually even A+, so you can get a proper context of each grade and what each grade represents, so it can help you make better decisions about where you want to live. That being said, each grade does not mean, A+ doesn't mean always really good, or D doesn't mean bad either. There is always a neighborhood, to me, that makes sense for everybody in each grade level. It's not a way of saying move over here or don't move over here. It's more of a contextual thing, so you can determine, okay, in the D grade, you might find that houses might be a little bit cheaper, but also there might be reasons as to why. And those red flags or those cautions, you might need to be aware of some drawbacks to some of these neighborhoods, so you can make a decision as to whether or not it makes sense for you in the area or the price range. That being said, going up in the A and A+ range, you might find some of those are a little bit more expensive. Some of them may not actually be, but to me, for what you're getting, you might be getting a lot for the money, and I'm a big fan of those, and sometimes you'll see me put those in a different grade in the A's and A+ as well. So we're gonna start from D, and then we'll go up to A+. We're gonna start in the D range and start in the Green Run area. And so first of all, I'm gonna zoom out and show you where Virginia Beach is. So this is the entire Virginia Beach city right here. I mean, Norfolk, Chesapeake, all through here. This is all the south side of Hampton Roads, but we want to talk specifically about Virginia Beach all through here. Now, Green Run is right almost in the smack dab center of Virginia Beach. And I say Green Run, the neighborhood is right here, this area here. But it kind of actually zooms out from there into other general neighborhoods like Windsor Wood, places like Chimney Hill are around there as well, places like Princess Anne Plaza, all through here. Now this D rating is set based on style of house. You'll find some issues with some of these houses based on when they're built in the 70s. Often you'll find that some of them might have ranches where you might find some weird construction that it feels a little bit off. Bought the house previously, kept it up, in my opinion. Now, that being said, a lot of other areas around here in the $275 up into the $425, $450 price range, all through the central section. And I do think a couple of these areas, especially like Windsor Woods on this side over here, right close to Windsor Woods, even near Princess Anne Plaza, they're some of my favorite neighborhoods for the prices. Windsor Woods, for example, is in the $375 to the $435 price range, and all through you can even go over towards Mount Trashmore. There's a specific access point from Windsor Woods over to Mount Trashmore. But some of these areas are they're okay, but the house styles, the configurations, the yard sizes are a little bit more on the smaller end. And so if you want like a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, like 1,500 square feet, a smaller lot size, this is where you could find some good opportunity actually in the 350, 375 ish price range, and with some garages as well. But if you notice too, there's not a lot of, not a lot of trees, not a lot of character to this type of an area. But for the price, you might find that it might be something interesting. But personally, I would just do some research around, because some of the drawbacks to being in the central portion of Virginia Beach is you have less newer strip malls, newer shopping, newer things to do. It's pretty much an older-ish part of town, closer to Lynn Haven Mall. All through here, you have a lot of like 70s, 80s style shops. You'll find like even the roads themselves, Rosemont Road, not super exciting. You got a lot of townhouses on the sides of the road. It is what it is. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying like you're not going to be super excited or thrilled. I mean, if you look at the pictures on a lot of these houses that are listed in the 375 price range, you might say, okay, well, the house looks great. What's going on? It's just you're in an area that's it's kind of old. It's got kind of some age to it. And I think that can make people a little bit kind of almost underwhelmed. But you're still central to a lot of things, which I think is a benefit. And we don't live too far away from this general area, partly because of the centralization of just being close to so much stuff. And that's helpful. But personally, I think you could find more opportunity in places that we'll talk about later if you want access to more shopping. But that being said, going over to the next one, which is the northwest section of Virginia Beach over here. So northwest, so the Norfolk and Virginia Beach line is right here. So it cuts down around 64, all down through Route 13, all through around here. This is all Norfolk, and to the east is all Virginia Beach. Well, I'm talking about this section right here, where it says Northwest, but all through here, closer to Independence Boulevard, but going over towards the west side and over Newtown Road, Baker Road over here, Wesleyan Drive. This area has some similarities to me to Central Virginia Beach, where it's like, okay, older, the strip malls are older. Some of the strip malls also have, like this Farm Fresh right here. This is now, they've moved out. There's nothing here now. And this, especially this Cypress Point Shopping Center, is an older example of an area that you can see businesses leaving this strip mall. Now, I do think there is some room for growth around here, but in general, you'll find that a lot of these price ranges in here are similarly in the 300s and 400s. But then if you go over towards the edge of Virginia Beach going into Norfolk, you'll find that it almost feels a bit more commercialized. Even like on Baker Road, Newtown Road, this old, like these hotels, like they really haven't changed much in a long time. This area just is kind of tired, in my opinion. Now, that being said, you can get some good value price-wise, especially in two specific neighborhoods that I'm a big fan of. One is Cypress Point. I love the golf course, number one. I think for the price, it's really good value, I think. Like $50 for 18 holes-ish. But Cypress Point Country Club is in the middle of Cypress Point. But around there are area houses in the $480 to $500 price range, going up into the $700 and $800 price range near lakes, or could be maybe just backed up to the golf course. Really nice neighborhoods. I have clients that live in here. I think for the price, and part of this is the school districts aren't in as high demand in this area, which is Bayside. That being said, again, that's where you can get some good value. So house for money. Big fan of Cypress Point. A lot for what you're going to be paying for in the 5s, 6s, and 7s, going up into the $800,000 price range. But then next to there, the neighborhood next to that called Ridgely Manor, which goes up into North Shore. Neighborhood back here, you're talking close to $1 million. I mean, up over that on the water. Some really nice houses. But for the price, house, style, all that combined, it's going to be hard to find a house and neighborhood better for the price. In the low millions, upper like 8s and 9s, it's going to be hard because this type of neighborhood over in a different part of the area is going to be a lot higher because of school district and general location. But I do think that an area like around Ridgely Manor, down the further south side, you got condos in the 300-ish price range, 350, 400. A lot of nice balance and variety here. And both of these neighborhoods, Cypress Point and Ridgely Manor, both I'm a big fan of. Now, one more that is right on the edge of the Northwest Virginia Beach area is Haygood Point. Another one I think is also great for the price. That's not an HOA. I'm going to drop a pin here too. I've done a video specifically about this one. More trees, a bit more of feels like more character. These are houses a little bit older, but you'll find them in the 5s, 6s, and 7s mostly. And then again, larger lots. You're getting into the 8 range if you get houses that are more renovated in that price range. But I love this neighborhood also for the price. So again, I talked about it being a D area. Again, that's why I say it. Just because it's a D does not mean it's bad. There are 3 specific neighborhoods I'm a big fan of all through the Northwest Virginia Beach side. So now we're going to shift over to the C neighborhoods. We've got 3 specifically. The first one is Southwest Virginia Beach. And this is actually where I grew up. I love this area because you can get a real nice house for still a pretty affordable price and not have to pay up for things that you might not need. So if it's like, hey, for example, Avalon Hills, houses in the low 400 price range, brick ranch style. This is the kind of house that I grew up in, 1,300, 1,600 square foot, real nice neighborhoods. A lot of these people that live in neighborhoods like this have been here for 30, 40, 50 years. Just like my parents, living in a great neighborhood. This is an amazing part of town. And again, I grew up around here. I'm very familiar with it. I just like it a lot. You've got areas near there, closer to like Woodstock, Westview, Sunnyside, these areas over here. Woodstock is a great neighborhood for in the 450, 550 price range, maybe even a little less than that. But very commonly in the 60s, late 50s and early to mid 60s, going even into the 70s and 80s, but mostly 60s, you'll find a lot of brick ranches. And that's why you'll see in the Southwest Virginia Beach portion of town, a lot of brick ranch style houses, which I like a lot. What you'll find too is, just as this example, you'll see that the width of these lots they're wider than other places I've dropped pins on. And that's part of the benefit of having a ranch. A lot of the houses that ranches are built on have lots that are a bit wider. And so that time period, they weren't trying to smash them all in. The lots were a bit wider. And so for the price and lot size, you can go into a place like Southwest Virginia Beach and get some great value. They're not all like this. You see, for example, on this side, they squeezed them in on this side, partly because there's a lake on that side too. So you have a lot more houses on that Lake Murray. But as a general rule, that brick ranch style, you can get good value in a nice kind of house. And so Westview Village, great example in the 300 price range. Going down into College Park, that's where you'll find some spots are like, some I like, some I'm not a big fan of. Depends on where in College Park. You'll notice that one thing to keep in mind, especially even in the rest of Virginia Beach, is the closer you are to 64, Interstate 64 and Interstate 264, you will hear background noise near your house. I actually have a friend that used to live at 513 King Arthur right here. This was my friend's house, and I used to house sit for him. And there's a big barrier in the back of that house. He's since gone. So I can zoom in right here. This whole strip of King Arthur, you'll see it's a barrier. You'll see a barrier between the neighborhood and the interstate. Well, those barriers help a lot with the interstate traffic, but they don't always fix the issue of all the noise you'll still hear. And I think that just as a general rule, if you're close to the interstates, you might find a good value. For example, Southwest Virginia Beach, oh my goodness, I can get a house in Whitehurst Landing or Avalon Woods and for $450, $475 in that $500 price range. But keep in mind that based on how close you are to the interstates in a lot of these neighborhoods, you will hear it a lot. Even down towards College Park, you can see houses in College Park in the $450, $435-ish price range, as low as that. But if you're on Drew Drive or near that corner, you're going to be hearing that interstate system. So stuff like that is the nuance too, where I'm like, hey, I'm not a huge fan of being that close to noise, but personal preference is key, right? But a lot of this area is a little bit older, built in the 60s, but older strip malls, still kind of that older feel. But to me, there's more here as opposed to more in the northwestern section of Virginia Beach. I just like the southwest portion of Virginia Beach a whole lot better. I could be because I grew up in the area. I went to that library every week, I think, when I was a kid, going up and down Kempsville, Providence. I just love this part of town, and they're redoing a lot of these shopping centers too, so you can kind of start seeing the growth or the revitalization happening in parts of town that really had not been touched in 30, 40 years. So that leads me to the next area, that zooming out from here over towards closer to where I was just talking about in the northwest section of Virginia Beach, is an area called Witch Duck. So Witch Duck, I like Witch Duck a lot because Witch Duck has areas along the water, so you can get some of the cheapest waterfront that can take you up towards the beach in the Bay Area. Cheapest for the price, period, I think, in a lot of parts of Witch Duck. You can get houses in Pembroke Meadows in here in the 5s, but on the water, 6, 7, 8 range. But in Witch Duck Point, over towards Sawpent Point over here, up on this side of Witch Duck, over going towards Thorogood. Some of my favorite neighborhoods in the area are actually on this side in Witch Duck. Thorogood's amazing. Thorogood, you have houses in the 6s to 1.5, but off the main road, off the water, lots are nice size, but also those brick ranches again. So some people don't like this. I like it because there's some character to this, and not everybody likes that, but personal preference. And there's some newer parts of town I will talk about as we go forward, but the lot sizes are really nice in Thorogood. You'll pay a little bit more for that, but Princess Anne School District is part of it too. The demand for Princess Anne School District is really, really great, and you get a 5-minute access from Thorogood over to Chicks Beach, which is a beach we'll talk about here shortly too. But I like Thorogood. Lake Smith Terrace, another area that is similar to Thorogood in terms of the brick ranch, but smaller lots, smaller houses in the 5s-ish price range, $550. And then going down further south, Pembroke Meadows down here in the $525 range. I think it's one of the most overrated neighborhoods to me. You see so few trees. I'm going to show you what I mean, but man, it's like, and of course I dropped the pin where there's trees, but you'd think that there would be more, I guess, in my mind. Look at this. Yeah, this is a good example. This happens a lot. You drive down this road and you see a bunch of wide open houses. I don't like that. That's just not my vibe. I'd rather have the shade than all of the sun, and it just doesn't feel as nice to me. But houses along the back here, as you go back into the very back corner, you'll find some in like the 7s and 8s and up along the back portion of Pembroke Meadows. And then going over down towards Aragona. Aragona, I think I would consider in the northwest corner. Aragona, you can find good value in the $350, $375 range, but the types of houses just don't really do it for me. They're kind of basic. They're smaller. But again, if you want to buy a house, single family house in Virginia Beach, this is the most prevalent area that you can find the cheapest houses, almost period, in my opinion. Just it's such a big neighborhood. This is Aragona Village over here. So that being said, this is the D area in the Witch Duck area. I call it Witch Duck, but if you say Witch Duck, some people may not exactly know what you're talking about because it's like there's no real name for this area. But again, this whole section has some good strip malls. You got Haygood. The Haygood shopping center is around here. Just not as much as far as like, not a ton around. There's some decent restaurants and all that, but you may still find yourself leaving to go to other parts of town to get to better shopping, especially into town center. So that brings me to the next C area, which is going further south, Salem. Now, if you look online, the rankings of Salem school districts are pretty high. There's a demand for Salem, and I like Salem a lot, specifically Salem Woods, which is just above where it says Salem. Real nice, just, pretty standard 24, 28, 3,000 square foot houses, 4 or 5 bedrooms, just designed in the early 80s. Will you find it a lot of these are pretty much the same. I mean, you're not going to be getting into Salem Woods because you love the unique designs. That's not what this is. But I think for a family neighborhood, you got multiple kids, you want the school district, you want it to be in the 5, 6s, and 650 price range. This is where you'll find some real nice areas. Like I have a lot of friends that grew up in Salem Woods, for example, and I love it. It's convenient to other shopping areas and neighborhoods close by. It used to be an HOA neighborhood, but it's not anymore. But you go across the street, you've got Glenwood all the way through towards Pleasant Valley. This area here is in the 4 or 550 price range in Glenwood, that Glenwood area. There are different types of houses in Glenwood that go up into the 6s and up based on what kind of house you're talking about. But anything through the central area or south central area near Salem, I like a lot for the central-ishness of it, close to Walmart, there's a Target, anything close, you're close to Princess Anne Road. But the drawback is that one of the things that bothers me is you're in an area here where as you leave the Salem area, it's hard to get to interstate systems. And so you kind of find yourself kind of just navigating around a bunch of random roads in the Virginia Beach city, stoplights, start and stop. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I like the ability to get to a lot of places fast, the convenience of it. And while there are some great neighborhoods in Salem, and especially in the 400s, like smaller neighborhoods, or smaller houses, this is Salem Lakes. Salem Lakes is in the 425-ish, 400 price range. It just gets to me annoying if you ever wanted to leave and go to downtown Norfolk, for example. It is harder to get there, maybe 30 minutes to get to downtown Norfolk, 25 or so. And, hey, personal preference, but for me, I'd rather be closer to an interstate system. But in general, Salem, for a C, I think it might be worth considering some of these areas because, again, price-wise, you're in that anywhere from $375 up into the $650 price range. But again, this type of house for $500,000, you might not find it in the northern section of Virginia Beach for less than $600 or $650. So I do like the value you can find in Salem. So now we're going to go into the B neighborhoods. There are some B neighborhoods. This is where you find some true value bang for buck, and they kind of span across the whole area. So the first one is actually the oceanfront. And we're going to zoom over to the oceanfront here. And what do I mean when I say oceanfront? Well, I'm talking specifically about the middle to down the bottom portion of the boardwalk, down towards Shadowlawn, towards the Vibe District, towards Beachboro and Old Beach, all through here. This area feels very beachy, you could kind of, if you're like, hey, I want to walk to the beach, I want to bike to the beach. These kinds of bungalows are all over the place. And so you can get like a 2, 3, 4 bedroom house. But again, you're still pricing into the, at least to start, mid-5s for a single family house. But you'll find some attached, you'll find some condos, you'll find detached houses, or you'll find some apartment style condos. You'll find a whole variety of different styles, but also you'll find, like here, a little bit of industrial mixed with newer construction. You'll find older houses. You'll get a lot of variety in the Old Beach, Shadowlawn area. Shadowlawn's right here. It's one of my favorites near the beach. This is more of a neighborhood feel in Shadowlawn. So a little bit more like lot sizes are a little bit larger, but you're going to be finding that they'll be still in the starting in the 6s. A lot of these are going to be $9 million and up if you want that bigger 4 or 5 bedroom house, and especially with those houses that are renovated. So it's still, you're going to be paying for like this type of house. These 4 or 5 bedroom houses are going to be up there in price over $1 million in most cases, or at least over $900 in most cases. But that being said, you can often walk to the beach. You can bike to the beach. You can get a lot to all sorts of up and down the boardwalk. You can get close to where the new Rudy Park is being built over on the corner down here, closer to the bottom of the boardwalk. You can get to the boardwalk pretty easily. I'm going to do the aerial view here. So this boardwalk is about 3 miles long, going down towards the south end, all the way up towards the 40th Street section, over closer to the Cavalier up here. This is all boardwalk along the beachfront. So being able to bike or walk from your neighborhood over is nice. So if I'm looking for value, I would think Beach Borough to me is one of my favorites for value, up through closer to Virginia Beach Boulevard and Norfolk Avenue around here. I like this area for the price, but you may not like the feel of the area as much as you might like it in Shadowlawn, depending on what kind of preferences you have. But closer to the Vibe District is great. Some awesome restaurants through here. Hearth is a great one. My wife and I go to get good pizza. A Prosperity Bakery, which is a bake shop, which good sourdough bread. We go over there. Commune, another good restaurant. Esoteric, they have good beer, and it's a nice place to sit and have a lunch or dinner. A lot of good restaurants, but also Lolly's Creamery, some of the best ice cream up and down in the area, actually, on the Virginia Beach Boulevard area near in the Vibe District. So a lot through here. The drawbacks are, again, you're paying a lot for a small house. If you want the beach, this B could be something you're like, I'm going to go after this B neighborhood, because it really checks boxes in ways that other areas don't do as good of a job in. And we'll talk about other parts of the area that might do similar things, but this is close to the tourism, close to even the New Atlantic Park, which is up right close to the Pacific Avenue area. That's one of the newest attractions that's changing kind of the complexion of the oceanfront area. So being close to all that is great. I'm going to even throw in a Croatan, which is just south of there. I think if you include Croatan, this could push up to an A, in my opinion, because Croatan is more of a neighborhood beach too. You get a lot of people that come here just to live or just to go to the beach, but this is more of a destination beach feel. You get the bigger houses, bigger lots to a certain degree. These are going to be in the $1 million and up range. It's going to be hard to find them less than that at this point, but great neighborhood if you want that to be able to get to the beach in a few minutes, walk or bike, and not to deal with as much of the oceanfront tourism. So now we're going to go back over to the next B area, which is an area that's close to the center of Virginia Beach called Town Center. So Town Center is great for a very specific reason, or several reasons, but one I like a lot is it's convenient. It is like the downtown portion of Virginia Beach, and not necessarily living in Town Center, which you can do. And one of my favorite neighborhoods for the price is a 260 condo neighborhood just south of Town Center called the Columbus Station, which I'm going to show you what I mean. This is Columbus Station right here. These little condos, I don't understand. I think personally, I get it. It's like there's not much to them, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, but the floor plans are very livable. And for $260, $270, and $200 to $300 condo fee, at least when this video is recorded, you can get to Town Center and close to all the action in Town Center in a few minutes walk or bike or whatever. You don't have to even use your car if you don't want to or can. But around there, the reason why it's nice to be in downtown is because of all the restaurants. It's more big boxy, which is one of the drawbacks. There's a Trader Joe's that's coming in pretty soon, just right above Regal Columbus right here. So it's more of a big boxy area. There's not as much unique character to this, but it definitely has a downtown vibe, just small. But then the areas around there are, older neighborhoods. So Pocahontas Village, one of my best friends in grade school lived in Pocahontas Village. I spent a lot of time in Pocahontas Village, and it's a pretty basic neighborhood for the $325-ish price range. Your basic ranch style, 3-bedroom houses, not very big, but again, for what it is, you get some good value, and you can get so close to a downtown in a single family house. I think it's pretty nice, for the price. And then going further from there, I also include areas like Larkspur. I include Kempsville Lake. I include areas even closer to Windsor Woods. I include just down into the corner, down closer to Aragona. I include all this area for the town center area because it's so close to town center. And I think you can get value around here. Like, for example, I mentioned Larkspur, Bellamy Manor, Bellamy Plantation. I think this is another part of town I think is another neighborhood section I think is similar to like this, a lot of nature, a lot of trees, got some character for the houses, but different price ranges. Like it can be anywhere from like the $425, $450 up into the, I'll drop a pin. So like a good example, like, for example, in Larkspur, you can get, in the 500 price range, 600, 650. Brick ranch or 2-story with some nice trees, good tree coverage. Just a nice balance of a lot of things that you might want, like 2,500, 3,000 square foot in the Larkspur area. But being like 6 minutes away from downtown and having a house like this, I mean, you can't do this in downtown Norfolk. You know, there's nothing like this in downtown Norfolk. There's nothing like it even in other downtowns in the general region, in my opinion. I think this is, to me, the best bang for buck in a place like Larkspur, a place like Bellamy Manor, to be close to town center and be in this type of proximity to nice neighborhoods. I think is great. And again, I include portions of what I would consider Kempsville. So Kempsville is Kempsville, Kempsville. So areas near here like Bellamy Manor, I mentioned that in a minute. Bellamy Manor, going over towards Stratford Chase is over here, also over towards Pleasant Valley and Indian Lakes. This whole area here, I think, is still pretty close to town center. I'm a big fan of being this close to a busy, shopping area, Target, Walmart. You can get to areas around Kempsville and town center, in 17, 18 minutes or less to the oceanfront, for example, over towards 64, over going down towards the south part of Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. You can get to a lot of different parts of town from the town center area in a matter of anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes up to 15 to 20 minutes. Even Costco over towards Military Circle. So big fan of being close to what's around town center. And I like the area around town center and why I'll have it as a B area. So next is Pungo. If you've ever heard of Pungo, you know Pungo is the country portion of Virginia Beach. Pungo is massive. Pungo is far in the corner. It's you want land, you got it. That's what Pungo is. Now, a lot of cool stuff that comes from that. One of my best friends lives in Pungo. So, he loves it. Back Bay Wildlife Refuge, False Cape State Park. This is some of the class of the preserved nature feel of like the areas down here. You can't even get cars down here, but you can camp down here. Some great nature areas. And also being around Pungo means you got a lot of yard, a lot of land. If you're going to go like a custom house in the country, this is an area you can find that type of house, or get a piece of land to build on in some cases too. So this is a great example of, if you want that space, you're going to potentially go to Pungo if you want this type of thing in Virginia Beach. Now, with that comes great school districts. Kellam High School District is all through down this section here, and I'm going to do an aerial view. You see the farmland, and not a lot has really developed down here yet. You're going to see some big businesses like our nursery and landscaper lives down here. There are parks down here. Big one, Munden Point Park has a disc golf course, which is a real nice disc golf course. But also you've got waterways in the back and portions of the streets that hook away from Princess Anne Road. As you go further away from Princess Anne Road, you'll find like little nooks and crannies that tucked way back into the corner here. So you can be on Princess Anne Road and still be 8 to 10 minutes away from your house, if not longer, because it takes you a while to get to these back nooks and crannies. So a lot of houses that have massive amounts of acreage, horses, farms, all that's down here. Now, that's the thing that makes it so, if you want that type of feel, this is the only place really that you'll have the most options. But there are some drawbacks. Number one is going to be flooding concerns. So flooding coming out of the bay, North Bay, Ships Bay, depending on which direction the wind's blowing, you could have water blowing up onto the shoreline, and you'll find that your road, the road that takes you, the one road that is easy to get to take you out of the neighborhood or out of your area, might flood. So, these areas closer to the marshland areas. Now, this is not necessarily the best example, but you'll find a lot of portions of Virginia Beach, Pungo area, that have, like you see here, these drains down here. Good example of, you can see kind of the water, looks like frozen. It's frozen, but you can see that the water is already kind of sitting near the top, near the roadway. And it's a good example of what happens if it pours and there's nowhere for the water to evaporate. The yards can just start filling up with water, and you'll start finding that your yards start filling up with water too. I have one of my best friends, again, he lives in Pungo, and I've seen him, he's dealt with water up to his I think close to his knees, if not higher. But again, he loves it. So it's personal preference. So, there's a lot of places around here that need a lot of flood insurance. So just be very careful about if you're concerned about flooding. This is something that isn't necessarily across everywhere down here, but it's definitely enough to where it can be worth being watchful of. And that leads me to the conversation about flood insurance in general. Is flood insurance in general, you'll find that there are different flood zones. Flood zone AE is an area that requires flood insurance. X and X500 generally do not, and to that point, if you're in a flood zone, it does not mean that you need flood insurance. It does not mean that there's a big risk of flooding. Just about everywhere in the area falls under a quote unquote flood zone. The question is, which one are you in? So that being said, the prices in Pungo, 500 to start, mostly 6, 7, and 8. I mean, these custom sized big, 5, 6 bedroom houses with big detached garages and, extra acreage. They're going to be, 8, 9, $1 million, $2 million. I mean, you'll find big houses back in the back here because you've got land to build and you can build big monstrosities. So over to, you get a bunch of different types of houses in here, and people that have also developed these areas to do their own businesses, run their own landscaping and construction businesses, maybe near or at their own house. You'll see a lot of those types of setups in Pungo. So the side note from there, I am also including as a kind of an adjacent from Pungo, you've got Sandbridge. Sandbridge is different than Pungo drastically, but it's also a B area I want to talk about because it's like the destination beach in the area. This is not a place where most people live. It's a place where usually you buy to rent, do a vacation rental. You might own it, a few months out of the year and then go somewhere else, like a person who's here for a few months during the warm months. So it's not a place I would consider an area that people usually move to. But if you like this as more of a half and half, 6 months on, 6 months off, that's usually most of what people end up deciding to do. This is, again, you'll see houses in here, 5, 6, 7 bedrooms, 8, 10 bedrooms sometimes. This is the definition of a destination beachfront, vacation houses, wedding parties, that type of stuff that happens up and down Sandbridge. So this is the one spot where this happens the most, is being in Sandbridge, being tucked away from the corner or in the corner from the rest of all the action. This is not a tourist type of area. You got several strips of houses, and that's pretty much it. And so these are going to be starting mostly in the 9 to $1 million price range. You'll find a few less than that, but mostly 8, 9, $1 million to 2 to 3. I mean, there can be some big ones up along the water in real nice construction. So on the beach theme, we're going to go to another beach area that to me is different, a lot different actually, to the oceanfront or even Sandbridge, which is Chicks Beach. And I'm talking about Chicks Beach, which is actually right here. But I'm including the other portions of this section of the north part of the beach along the Chesapeake Bay, which is not Chicks Beach. Chicks Beach stops right about here. But you also have Ocean Park, which is over on this side over here, going over towards Cape Story by the Sea. A lot of these beach kind of bungalow or townhouse communities that I think, again, for the price you're going to be finding in the Chicks Beach area. You can be, like smaller house off the beach for starting in 5, 6s starting. Most of them, again, will be back to the 7s and 8s and 9s, $1 million. These houses along the water, these big ones. You're looking at the Chesapeake Bay, looking at the bridge. These are going to be millions, multi-millions. But really, I mean, it's a different feel here because this is not what you call a touristy area compared to the oceanfront. You've got the bigger style houses, similar to what you might find in Croatan or even sometimes on occasion in Sandbridge. But it feels more of a local homey beach feel, and houses built in the 70s, 80s. New construction, you'll find a vast variety, and even detached single family houses or attached condos, maybe no fee condos, which is a thing. See, there's A and B attached like that. That's a very common type of construction and type of living situation here. Those are in the 7s and 8s in most cases, going and up from there. But anything close to the beach as a general rule is going to be in that 6, 7 and up price range, unless you go for a really small condo. But off there, going further away, this is a neighborhood called Bay Lake Pines. So if you do want a place on the beach that's a detached single family house neighborhood, but you can still get to the beach within biking, walking distance. This is what Bay Lake Pines is, starting in mostly the 7s and up. $1 million is very quick and easy to get into when you're in Bay Lake Pines because it's so hard to get this type of house close to the beach. So there's value to that, and almost kind of a close beach access point and lake access point on one side, but also beach access point up closer to Lookout Road going over in this corner here. So townhouses in the mostly 5s and 6s over closer to areas on the bay. Again, Ocean Park going over towards, there's some condos on this side over here starting in the 3, 4, 5 price range, but it's going to be hard. You'll be giving up some stuff to get in the 3s and under price range on this side of town. But Cape Story by the Sea, same kind of thing as what you might find in other beach areas. So all I have to say is this whole section, I call Chicks Beach, is kind of like the anchor name and area. What I think the most intriguing, and I think if I was going to live on this side of the area, I would pick Chicks Beach because of that beachy feel and neighborhood feel. But in this area, again, 6 to 1.2, 1.5 to plus $1 million along the water, if not getting higher than that. You have access to the Lesnar Bridge and all the inlets over here. You got Chick's Oyster Bar, you've got the dockside, Bubba's Seafood, some good restaurants up and down like right on the water here, and the porch at Long Creek is over here also. But I think just Chick's Beach is a pretty nice solid B area for what you're paying. The next is another one as you're going down further down to the south portion. When you say the area is called Princess Anne, and I've done a video about Princess Anne. Now, Princess Anne doesn't really have a defined area. It's kind of a region that people talk about because, see, this is Princess Anne Road right here. That's a long road, and so some people associate Princess Anne Road with over here. You've got houses built in the 80s and 90s for $500,000-$600,000. You've got houses that are over closer to the Holland Road Seaboard Road area, over towards Highgate Greens, which is over in this section here, going over towards Three Oaks, this neighborhood here, Sherwood Lakes over here. These neighborhoods are all in the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 price range, and I'll show you this. One of my favorite neighborhoods in the area is Highgate Greens, and houses in the 800 price range is pretty common. 750. I'm a big fan of just the style, the condition of houses, or architecture. It's a little bit more modern, and it's also school districts. So anything in the Princess region here is mostly going to be in the Kellam or potentially Ocean Lakes, but often Kellam High School District. So this whole section here, I'm going to just draw a general circle is what I'm talking about. Through here, all through here, near Virginia Beach National, going over towards Indian River Road. There's Courthouse Estates right here. Going over further down, you've got Heron Ridge, which is right here. I like Heron Ridge in the 9s, closer to $1 million. You get over towards Asheville Park and Heritage Park over right here. This is Asheville here, Heritage, and Lagomar, another one that I call in the Princess Anne area, even though it's not really, and I'll say this neighborhood again because it's in different school districts, but the Kellam High School side is down here. This is the older section of Lagomar. I'm a big fan of Lagomar. So you got the newer side, or they got the older side of Lagomar on this side over here. So I'll drop you a pin. This is a great area on the far edge of this area I'm talking about, which is, 7 and up mostly. $1 million is not super uncommon. You got real nice trees. It just has it's kind of a disheveled feel. Some people don't like this side of Lagomar, but I like it a lot because it's just there's no consistent, there are no cookie cutter vibes in here, which the newer side of Lagomar has that. The older side and this side in the 70s and 80s does not. So all through here, these areas are going to be anything in Princess Anne, just keep in mind, is going to be mostly 6s to 1.2. And if you go to Asheville Park, this new construction over here, this is going to be up to 1.5, 1.6. Is one of the few new construction neighborhoods in the area. I call Red Mill in here as well. It's not really Princess Anne, but again, it's such a confusing area to discuss because there's no real name for it. And so I kind of call the areas in the Kellam section of town near Princess Anne Road, I call that Princess Anne, but some people might call this Ocean Lakes instead. And we'll talk about Ocean Lakes here in a minute. But I like this area a lot. Just keep in mind that, if you say Princess Anne, it can mean a whole lot of different things. The school districts here check a lot of boxes. Kellam High School District is a very popular one. The shopping area nearby, brand new, or not new, brand new, newish, is Red Mill. In the last 15 years, you see this area kind of develop a lot over time. Red Mill is right here. This area right here, or going further up north towards General Booth. This whole section going closer to General Booth, but Strawbridge. This whole area, very convenient shopping, to the point to where you might find yourself doing a lot more of your shopping, and everything you'll need is in this kind of general section around where it says Woodhouse Corner, closer to Red Mill. And so being in the Princess Anne area, you might find yourself going to either there or over towards the Lansdowne Commons to shop. So you might find yourself living in the area, not venturing out too far unless you want to go to the beach. But that's one of the drawbacks of being in here, which is why I kind of keep it still at a B, because you are further away from a lot of other stuff. I mean, people that live in Norfolk or live in Chesapeake or live on the other side of Virginia Beach, if you say, hey, party at my house, come over to, Asheville Park, and they're like, oh gosh, I got to drive 44 minutes to get to this thing. So that's the kind of the feel is you might find that you spend more time around the people that are closest to you in the Princess Anne area because it just feels so much farther to get there from other parts of town. So another drawback is, again, the price, but but I think that I like a lot because it's a really nice aesthetic. If you want a newer type of house, there's a lot more newer style houses in the Princess Anne Road, in the Princess Anne area, as opposed to other places in the southern section, especially, or even in the northern section of Virginia Beach. This area, generally speaking, trends a lot newer, and you'll find a bit more options for that type of those newer modern style floor plans. So that brings me to one more an area which is right next to it, which is Ocean Lakes. And Ocean Lakes School District, high demand school district area. I consider the area closer to, this is Ocean Lakes right here. Ocean Lakes, it even kind of bleeds into closer to Sandbridge and over towards Ligamore, which I just mentioned. So you can kind of call either of these Ocean Lakes or Princess Anne, but it's the same kind of general region. I would call anything around here similar kind of vibe, but Ocean Lakes specifically, the neighborhood right here, you can find houses in here in the 450, 425, 500 price range, smaller houses. But if you want school district, high demand school district, but smaller house, Ocean Lakes, the specific neighborhood, is a place to consider. This type of construction, nothing fancy, but 14, 15, 16, 1800 square foot for $475. Hard to find nowadays in the Virginia Beach area, and some more contemporary floor plans also. So I would consider this area, if you want this kind of this style and you want it in a place that has high school district ratings and demand, and also close to the Oceana Naval Air Station, which is right here. You're close to it as well. Drawback is going to be jet noise, and I've talked about the jet noise factor before, but ACUZ, check the AICUZ jet noise zone map, and you'll be able to determine where in the area you'll hear the most jet noise. In this area, you'll find there's a lot of jet noise. This section, even going over towards Pungo and even in towards Princess Anne, you'll still hear it in some parts too. So that's one of the drawbacks. But again, in general, another one though, I do like the area a lot. Again, you're closer to the beach also. Another side neighborhood I like a lot right in here, this one is sneaky good, is called Park Place, which has the monopoly names: Short Line, Electric, Reading, Boardwalk, those types of street names in Park Place, but in the $850 price range in here. And you can, again, if you are an officer in the military, you have that pay rank that you can go into the 7s and 8 price range. I would consider the Park Place neighborhood to be close to the Oceana Naval Air Station, or Dam Neck for that matter. So now we're going to go into the A's, the A areas in Virginia Beach. There are a couple I want to talk specifically about. One is Great Neck. Great Neck is, premium. A lot of things premium here. Premium everything. Premium stores. Premium restaurants. Hilltop. You're close to Hilltop, which is one of the most, if not the premium shopping area in all of Virginia Beach. Plenty of strip malls, plenty of newer stuff, plenty of older stuff. You got mom and pop restaurants. One of the ones I like is Aldo's Italian restaurant. You've got Bilotti Mediterranean, which is over in Hilltop. You got multiple sections of Hilltop. A lot of cars. This is a little bit older. You got some newer construction on the roadways that has made it easier to drive through here. But Hilltop is people want to be close to Hilltop, and being in Great Neck allows you the chance to be close to Hilltop. Now, that being said, you notice all this waterfront, this side of the water, these water edges, the shorelines. A lot of these neighborhoods, you got like Trent, Berkshire, Southern Point. You got over towards like Wolf's Neighbor Plantation, over towards the central portion, Great Neck Meadows, Lincoln Estates. Allenton's one of the best neighborhoods in the whole Virginia Beach area. Baycliff, which is right next to it. Broad Bay, Chelsea, Green Hill Farms on this side. Broad Bay Estates, Shorehaven. A lot of great neighborhoods all through here, but you're going to be paying for it. So if you go into, for example, let's do Allenton. Allenton's one of the most historic neighborhoods in the area. Lots of trees, nice sized lots, houses all on the water. These are going to be priced to start in the $700,000 to $800,000 price range, but they can go up from there. Bigger lots, custom style houses. Zooming out, you got houses on the water. This is some prime real estate on water, long docks going out to the river, going out to Broad Bay. You can take this all the way, zooming out, all the way up to the Chesapeake Bay through here. This is $2, $3, $4, $5, and up $1 million if you're along the shorelines over here. So, but some of my favorite parts of the whole area up in this corner here, Chelsea and Green Hill Farms is all through here. Some great, combination of nature, house style, no cookie cutters. Not a big fan of that ever. So, again, the style's built in the 80s a lot. Just some vintage style houses back through here. Tennis. I have a wonderful client that is moving, wants to be in the area and trying to be closer to this Virginia Beach Tennis and Country Club. So John B. Dye is a very popular elementary school. Cox High School District is over here. So this is Cox High School where we at. Right there. There's Cox. So rec centers, you've got parks, you've got everything you need in Great Neck. Now, the pricing. Prices are going to be you can get houses in the southern portion of Great Neck in the $450 price range, but it's a small area. It's going to feel a whole lot different in the south portion, right on the very bottom portion near Hilltop Manor, all through here, as opposed to the north side that creeps up 6s, 7, 8, Allenton, 9, $1 million, and again, shorelines, you got $2, $3, $5 million in some cases, but even going over towards Great Neck Point, some incredible views across the river, across the bay. It's hard to match this, which is why it can be so expensive relative to other parts of town. You're closer to marinas, you're still close to the beach, but Great Neck is primo. You're going to be paying, I think, more here, several percent more, in my opinion, than other parts of the area for the same exact house. But you're buying into one of the highest net worth areas as well as highest in demand areas, and so that can push the price up quite a bit. Now, that leads me to go across Broad Bay and Lincoln Bay right here. Going over across is the north end, which is the next A area, which I think, if you want neighborhood feel but also beach access, this is the one spot that is unlike any other, because you get the beach access but also the quiet beach access along the Atlantic Ocean. So the north end is right, it kind of starts around 50th Street, around like Bay Colony Drive right here, and then bumps up all the way up to the 89th Street area, closer to Fort Story up here. So this whole section is the north end, but I'm also including a couple other neighborhoods. One is going to be Bay Colony, which is right here, and also Princess Anne Hills, which is right here. Those are two and some of the most in-demand prime neighborhoods in all of the Virginia Beach area, but with that comes pricing. So for example, North End, you could start small houses in the $800-900 price range mostly. Then you're going to be easily into the $1 million. If you're along the ocean side, you don't have to cross over Atlantic Avenue to go to the beach, which they all have. Most of these have access to the beach from each street. You're going to be paying well over $1 million, $2 million, $3, $4, $5. I've seen, you've seen them higher than that, up right on the ocean. Again, this is some of the most prime real estate on the beach anywhere. I mean, even on the East Coast, dare I say. So being on this side is a lot more expensive than being on this side. You can get houses under $1 million more frequently the further back you go away from the street. But you can get houses under $1 million more frequently closer to like the Atlantic Avenue side, but on the other side of Atlantic Avenue. So as soon as you have to cross the street, you start finding a little bit cheaper pricing unless it's just a very unique house. Now that being said, same goes with Princess Anne Hills. Some great water access here, docks. I mean, you can take your boat all the way back up to Broad Bay, all the way back up to Chesapeake Bay. So that's some of the benefit of being in the Princess Anne Hills and Bay Colony neighborhoods is that. But off the shoreline, again, you'll still see some in the low 1 million, 1.2, 1.3 up and around the Princess Anne Hills area. This is one of those spots that also has the uniqueness of having actual hills closer to the beach, which is really hard to find. This is pretty much the only place you can find it. I'm going to drop a pin to show you. This is a good example. This hill, is one of the many into the Princess Anne Hills area, and it's actually called Hills for a reason. Bay Colony has some of that too. It kind of winds around and dips down, but for the most part, it's not as hilly as Princess Anne Hills, but same thing. And it reminds me similar to Allenton on the other side as far as the styles of houses go, but same thing, 7 and 8 to 2, 3, 5 and up $1 million along the coastline on this side. So now we got one A+ neighborhood in all of Virginia Beach. It's not here. It's not the most expensive. I think for everything you're paying for and it being away from the jets, which is a big deal to some people, we're going to go back, zoom out. And if you've noticed, what area have I not talked about yet in all of Virginia Beach? This bump right here. This area, you got Great Neck, the Great Neck, Then over here is what you call Little Neck. Little Neck is, to me, the A+ neighborhood area in Virginia Beach. Why? Well, what you'll find in Little Neck are a lot of different types of neighborhoods. Kings Grant, which is kind of closer to like what you find in Larkspur, I talked about earlier. I'll drop a pin here. It's pretty nice for what you're paying. but you're also paying sometimes up over $1 million. But these are mostly 650 to 850 price range for a lot of these. But again, as you go further back, they're going to be higher in price. Now, zooming out though, you got other neighborhoods. For example, you've got Middle Plantation, which is one of my favorites in the whole area. More of a colonial kind of old vintage kind of neighborhood that has wide streets, big lots, varieties of styles of houses and sizes, 4 or 5 bedrooms, mostly 3,000 square feet, 3,500 square feet, some big ones on the water that are over 1.5 million. So that's a unique one. The further up you go, kind of the quieter it gets. Some, more woods. The streets become more narrow, but again, it's a lot quieter. But these houses, again, you'll find some of the big ones, 5 bedrooms and up, that are custom new construction in some cases, that are going to be 1 million and up, usually to start. And it'll be 1.5. Again, the further up you go, that becomes more commonplace. But on the flip side, you can be close to that if you're in Great Neck, or if you're in Little Neck, but you can also be in areas now further south, going over closer to Malibu, and also Kings Forest, which is down here. Malibu is in like the 400 price range. Very like a total flip to what you'll find on the north side. 4 bedrooms, 1,800 square feet for like 430, and in that price range, low fours, 450. That's unique and interesting. Got First Colonial School District, which is a generally in demand part of town. Now, going over towards like Kings Forest, I just did a video about Kings Forest. Got some water access, which is going to be cheaper on this side as opposed to over in the northern parts of Little Neck. Then going over down into the very southern parts of Little Neck is you got houses in the 5s, 550, 475 price range. You have a variety of prices in here. You've got the swim and racket club in the central portion. You've got different individual parks like the Middle Plantation Bishopsgate Park, which another great neighborhood nearby there, Bishopsgate, which is up here. Bishopsgate is up here. Aside from all of that, you have quick access to shopping and grocery stores. You've got Kroger and Harris Teeter on the south side here, Sam's Club, Home Depot. Being near Virginia Beach Boulevard is incredibly helpful. You're close to town center. You're like 10 minutes away from town center. You're also close to like 16, 17 minutes away from the ocean front, if not shorter. You're far enough away from the jet noise to where you really don't hear it very much, if at all, in the Little Neck area. And you also, if you're on the water, you can take the same Lynnhaven River and take it all the way up to the same Chesapeake Bay and ocean area and restaurants as you would if you're in Great Neck for a little bit cheaper price. So I think that this, for what you get, type of house, condition, the vibe of the area, for the price, is one of my favorites. And I think in demand, bang for buck, all things considered, is the A+ area in my opinion. If you want to have maybe the same kind of area as Great Neck, but maybe not pay as much, I think Little Neck is to me that A+ spot and one of my favorites in all of Virginia Beach. So if you have any other questions about relocating to Virginia Beach, the city, or anywhere through Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach through Williamsburg, Norfolk, Chesapeake, all the cities, this is what I do. I love helping people relocate to the area. And if you have a question, I have my contact information in the description. You can click also for a relocation guide that I can send you to help you get acclimated to the area and prepare for your relocation as I help you in that process. And also you can book a call with me. You can click down below and also to get scheduled with that. So if you want more information in detail about Virginia Beach and the areas around Virginia Beach, I have a video here you can click to learn more in depth as well. And you can check out all my other videos to boot. And I'll see you on the next video.